Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander. Going to be bringing Nate in for his two picks here in just a moment. Do want to make sure you know that we have best bets up here in this video, and we are going to have play up props up as well today, as we do each and every weekday. So make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along. Also head to thelines.com. As always, pick up all the great content we have up on the site right now, including that prop finder tool we tell you about all the time to make sure that you are getting the best odds available to you from all of these books that are giving you bets this season. I'm going to give it over to Nate now to give us his two picks before I jump back in with mine.
Yeah, I'm going to take Indy at the Clippers here, over 233 with both teams on a back-to-back. I expect this will get bet up to probably like 237 by the time this airs. I don't understand why it's so low, considering both teams are on the back-to-back again, considering Indy just went to 295 total at the Lakers. I mean, some regression here against a much better defense and a bit of a slower down team, but the Clippers also on a back-to-back, also at home. And I mean, this is more about Indy in terms of like Clippers have been playing slow, but Indy will just force you to play fast and like at least a little bit faster than what we've seen from the Clippers, which was an 88 pace against the 76ers. And they still gave up 121 on Sunday. And they are expected to get Russell Westbrook back here on Monday. We don't know who might sit in turn, but Westy, at least we know, is a second unit shot in the arm. And so we'll see this game going up and down. We see Indy kind of back on their bullshit in terms of just being a really fast, fun team. We have been targeting their unders post All-Star break, but we got off that just in time, it seems, because they've broken out of their little 3-point slump here in their last three, hitting nearly 15 threes at nearly 44%, whereas they were the worst shooting team in the All-Star since the All-Star break. Heading into that Pistons game, they kind of got right against that bad team, and now on the road here, have been lighting it up a little bit, 130 points per game. You look at their recent West Coast games, 6 straight wins, 6 straight games, at least 232 for the total. And the last 3 at Dallas, OKC, and Golden State averaged a 104.5 pace. Very fast for Indy, like I'm saying. And again, the 3-point shooting has been great, about 130 points per game, 14 threes. The thing with their defense, the reason we trust the Clippers to kind of break out of this malaise is Pacers defense we know is not good. It's particularly not good against power forwards and guys that can attack the rim, put rim pressure on you like Harden can at times. And on back-to-backs, it is much worse, where they're 2-10, allowing 126 a game on 42% splits. That includes 130 plus in 4 straight back-to-backs that they've allowed. And on the flip side of that, the Clippers, I mean, they haven't played many back-to-backs lately, but we did see their last home game that was a back-to-back. It got to 241 with the new look Bucks, and that's a Bucks team that had been going under so consistently with Doc Rivers that it stands out. Their other recent home games against the new look Hawks, very defensive-minded, the Wolves, which have not changed at all, and the Bulls. Previous home game on a back-to-back, they scored 138 against Phoenix. I mean, this is a long time ago, but how about just their previous game against a team that likes to play fast, like the Pacers? The Wiz decided to play at a 102.5 pace with the Clippers, and they gave up 140 right out of the break, 140 to 115. So tons of points here. I definitely think this is playable up to like 238. That we can get to 240 here because the Clippers defense has just not been the same since the All-Star break. They're allowing the second highest 3-point percentage. Indy has found that rhythm from 3. And yeah, with both teams on some tired legs, should be kind of spaced out. Even if we get some more bench guys in there, love the fact that Westbrook's coming back to help out with that. Yeah, I'm going to go with a top scorer bet here in Boston at Atlanta. Jaylen Brown plus 400 to be the top scorer in this game. I think you can hedge with DeJounte Murray at plus 220 if you think the Hawks are going to cover, though. Like if the Hawks, like you need the Hawks to cover for DeJounte to be in the game and continue scoring. And I mean, they'll need him to score to have any chance of keeping pace here. So maybe it makes more sense if you're going to bet that angle to take like DeJounte 25 plus and the Hawks plus 12. Don't hate that, although the Celtics are terrifying to fade right here. But this is more of like a fade of Jason Tatum to a degree, who isn't like, I mean, he hasn't been struggling, but he is dealing with an ankle injury that's cost him 2 games this past week. The Celtics are going to be a little more cautious with him, and they're going to ride Jaylen Brown a little more. And as we head towards the playoffs, and they don't really have anything to worry about in terms of seeding. Tatum in his last three is only shooting 45% of the field. Jalen 56% and 45% from deep. So he's averaging, both are about 28 points per game in that span. Jalen's last six on the road, where he does tend to kind of step up and set the tone early, 30 points per game on 35% usage. And that's despite shooting poorly from three, 32%, and shooting poorly from the line, 55%, which, we'll see if that reverts to the norm. But Jalen Johnson being ruled out here, I mean, it's good news for both guys, Tatum and Brown. I'm not sure. I mean, it could be a little bit better news for Jaylen Brown in terms of just not having a physical matchup for him. I mean, Jalen Johnson would have spent time on both, but I think this is more about the Celtics injury report and that we know Jrue Holiday's out and Derek White is legit questionable, and the Celtics have sat him only twice basically in since the new calendar year. Those were in games they certainly expected to win, against the Wizards and the Spurs. Now, Jrue Holiday had 22 the last time out against Washington. Jalen also 22 on 50%. Tatum, again, a little less efficient, closer to 40% without Derek White. There could be a theory here, like Derek White is more essential for getting Tatum shots, just his incredible spacing and ball movement, whereas Jaylen Brown is kind of a like, I'm going to go get mine type of player. I mean, sometimes to his detriment that he just thinks he can ISO and score all the time, but lately he's been playing probably the best regular season run of his career with this 30 points per game over six roadies, etc. And this is a homecoming for him, which is why it's a big angle as well. The guy's from Georgia. His last few against Atlanta in Boston have been, typical Jaylen Brown, up and down. You don't know when this spike's going to come, but the last three at Atlanta, 26 points per game on 56% splits. He's played 40 plus in two of those games. And that's on lower usage than he's had recently on this nice stretch, so I think if Tatum is at all bothered by the ankle, I know he's off the injury report, but there could be some discussions in the Celtics locker room in terms of like, let's not overdo it here against a Hawks team in a game we don't necessarily need to win. And Jalen seems to be on kind of a late tirade for all NBA, I mean, just to play extremely well. But there's another narrative here that says like he made All NBA last year. It got him this huge supermax. There was some, discussion, criticism. There's the Celtics media always very, edgy in terms of like criticizing Jalen and saying like, did he deserve that? Now he has this massive contract. And I think, he wrote a letter to the All-NBA voters saying thank you and that he earned so much money because of it. And now I think he's a stand-up guy who's just like, I'm going to go out there and earn it. I'm going to prove it by making All-NBA again. And he has a case for third-team All-NBA if he continues to play as well as he had. So couple factors there as you go up against a Hawks team that's pretty soft in the front court in terms of the forward spot. Still missing a Kongwu, of course, Sadiq Bey, and now Jalen Johnson. So I will hope Jaylen Brown at 4-1 could just be the top scorer here.
Jumping back in with my two best bets for the day. First up, I'm looking at an over in this Rockets and Trailblazers game. This has been bet all the way up to 224.5 after a pretty low opening for a Rockets team that is playing at the fastest pace in the league right now. So until the Rockets show me any reason to go under in their games, regardless of who they're playing, I'm going to take an over, as they had 85 points at the half in their last matchup with Utah. This Portland team is trying at the end of this season about as hard as Utah is trying, which is to say not at all, sitting pretty much everybody. If you look at that injury report, we've got DeAndre Ayton out. Most guys are either questionable or doubtful when it comes to Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle. Also looking at Malcolm Brogdon out. Shaedon Sharpe is still out. So without Ayton especially, there's really not much to like about this Trailblazers team. So I would lay the points before I ever took the Blazers and their points at any point right now. But I do think it's more ripe for an over with the fact that the Rockets are just, like I said, going at the rim with ferocity. First of all, they do have the second best offensive rating in their last 5 games. And this is like the complete different team than you remember from even 2 or 3 weeks ago for this Rockets squad. Like I said, first in pace. They've also got the top rebound percentage, the 8th best defensive effective field goal percentage, and the 2nd best offensive effective field goal percentage. And it's really just about them in this one. I can easily see them scoring about 125 to 130, in which case we really only need this Blazers team to come along for like 106 points or so, I would say, to make sure that they can get over this number. And I do think that they're going to be good for around 100 to 105. I would definitely limit them there, which is also why you can tell I like the spread for the Rockets, who have made very clear that they're trying in this game. They're trying to make the playoffs. The Dubs lost again on Sunday night, meaning that this Rockets team is really creeping in on picking up that 10 seed and playing in the play-in tournament for the first time in a while. The thing that's going to be huge here without DeAndre Ayton is the rebounding and the going to the basket for the Rockets, who are going to the rim with the second highest rim frequency. And they're also hitting a lot of their jump shots, which I will say is predicated on the fact that they open things up with their game going to the basket. So that's a huge reason for why I think their shooting is so good right now, is their propensity to attack the basket. And that's going to be why, even though they've played really poor competition as of late, and you might think that this Rockets team is being overvalued, they're just playing another bad team anyway. We don't have to worry about that in this game because they're playing the same level of comp that they've been playing, which is bottom 5, bottom 10 teams in the league. So we'll take them to continue to run it up on these bad teams at the end of the season as they really look to make a push for the playoffs. And second bet I'm going with here, I'm looking at this Dallas game. And it's interesting because in Dallas, we've got Lauri Markkanen, who is questionable. So is Jordan Clarkson. Both of them were late adds. And I got to be honest, it doesn't feel like they would play in this one. If they're going to be adds to the injury report last night when it came out for Utah, why would they come back in this game? They're clearly punting the rest of this season. Lauri Markkanen doesn't seem to want to play. I know that was a bit of a sort of kerfuffle that he had with some other teammates and other people in the locker room for this Jazz team, is that he's not playing. And so with them out, I do got to look at the Dallas -8. It's -8.5 in a lot of spots, but I think you can still get a -8. And I do think that number goes up as soon as we see Lauri and Jordan Clarkson officially ruled out in this game. If they, like, I'm hitting that early. If they do play and they are not ruled out in this game, both these dudes, I do like an over in this game, which has dropped a little bit from the opening total as well. And you can get some value if Lauri and Jordan Clarkson are playing. Like I said, if they come along for the ride in terms of scoring, which I think they will, then yeah, maybe you don't love -8, but you can buy back on that for sure with some live betting, or at the very least, you can take that over in this game as soon as you see Lauri and Jordan Clarkson ruled in, if that's what happens. Like I said, I don't expect them to be, so the -8 I'm fine taking with the way that Utah has just been getting blown away by good competition and playing the best competition in the league, really, over the last 5 games, has the toughest strength of schedule in the league, playing Minnesota twice. They've got OKC in there, who they actually gave a pretty good game to. And the Mavs, they've also been playing good comp, though, right? They played that same Timberwolves team and the Nuggets as well with that win that they got with Kyrie's last second shot there with his left hand. So, the way that the Mavs are playing, they've actually been playing really good defense. And that's a little bit more because they play on the road, a little bit slower, score fewer points on the road. So that's a little bit why I think you see these numbers for the last 5 looking like this is a good defensive team and not a bad and not as good of an offensive team. But in this one with the Jazz, the way that they do defend pretty much nothing. They do not defend the perimeter at all. You can get threes against them. You can get dimes against them. I expect both Kyrie and Luka to keep going the way that they both had really good games against Utah the last time they blew them out like a week and a half ago. So the pace is going to be pretty high in this one. We need Lauri and Jordan Clarkson to be in to feel good about that over. But in the meantime, -8 is still a good play for this Mavs team. And that is all the time we have for you guys in the Best Bets video. Make sure you are subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us. Also got the player props up as we do each and every weekday. So until we see you next, happy betting.